Hello everybody, it's September 16th, 2022. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, and what I said on Monday was that the bulls were on the right track. We should expect a pullback. At that time I was expecting a small pullback to the 20 to 21K area, which we have exceeded a little bit. It went down to about 19.3. So we have complicated things here. But this primary expectation that I had is still a possibility. It just means we have to be a little bit more careful with this next bounce, how it forms, because we may end up getting a lower low. So I'll go through the alternate scenarios again. I had put them on the back burner, but I'm going to bring them back now, because as I said here, primary focus is going to be monitoring that micro action to make sure it continues to support that primary scenario that we were going to head to 37K next. And at this point, the micro action has been telling me that we do need to be a little bit more worried. Not necessarily for an immediate dump, but we're going to have to watch the next bounce. So let me explain all of that here real quick. So primary expectation was based upon this 5-wave move up here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It hit the minimum requirement for that, and I was considering that a wave 1. We then had a nice ABC pullback into this target box here for a wave 2 right there. And then from that 2, we seem to have made a 5-wave move here, which should signify that with a small pullback, like I said, into that 20 to 21 area, we should then be looking upwards from there. However, it was quite a vicious dump from that high. So even though I was expecting a pullback, I wasn't expecting it to be that extreme. So there's a couple different things here, right? Number one, when you see a pullback, you typically want to see like an ABC down. I would have preferred a nice slow pullback, ABC, nice clear move. We don't have that. And so we're left with a couple of possibilities. One could be that this is simply a very extended A wave, little tiny B, and then just a long elongated C, and we could be bottoming in this area. If that were going to be the case, we should then see 5 waves off of this low, and that should get us through this red box. At the moment, I'm viewing that as less likely because it doesn't give us a clear ABC. So what I have as the orange arrows on here right now is kind of how that would play out, where we can still consider this to be wave 2 and this to be the initial wave up. And basically what that's going to do is give us an A, a B that's going to go really high, probably test that high again, and then a C wave back down to pretty much where we are right now. That to me is the only logical scenario that keeps us in this primary, where that's our second wave. This is a micro 1, 2 within this. So this would be micro 1, and micro 2 would end all the way over here after we got a high B wave and a low C wave. So we may be stuck in this area for a while yet, if that is the intention that Bitcoin has. Basically, between 23 and 19K, we might kind of bounce between those areas for a little bit, and that would still keep this as our wave 2. Now, below 18,950, this is the area that I said there's danger below that, because that would invalidate this as the micro 1 up. That would be too low for a second wave to go, and I would expect lower from there. And so what we have in that scenario is kind of what I have on here as the yellow, and basically what this shows is this would be, instead of that being all of 2, that would be wave A. This would be wave B, and then we would be making a 5-wave move down for wave C. And if we draw a fib extension from the top to the bottom, up to that top, we can see the ideal location for this yellow scenario to go is anywhere in here. And this does get a little problematic if it wants to extend all the way down, because 15.7 approximately is my line in the sand. That kind of ruins the larger chart if we go down below 15.7. But if we can stay sort of in the upper region of this green box instead, yellow can play out without actually signifying anything significantly bearish. Now, that being said, if we see a clear indication that that is what's going to play out, I don't really intend on keeping my positions. I'll probably get out of them instead, and I'll show you how I intend to do that. So basically, what I said before was that the orange scenario would involve, move back up here to the high. We have that small chance the bottom's already in. That requires a 5-wave move. This orange scenario only requires 3, but it requires 3 that get us really high. So the alternate then is that if we get 3 waves up that only get us into this box here, then I'm going to assume the yellow is what's taking over. And this would then be our wave 1 and our wave 2 in a C wave down. We'd then see 3, 4, and 5 from there. So basically what I'm looking for is, do we see 3 waves up that get to this red box? And that red box is between the 382 and the 618 fib retracement of this move here. And it's moved down a little bit, so I'm going to move that down a little bit. So 20,600 up to 21.5 basically is kind of the danger zone there for that more immediate yellow bearish scenario. And then these arrows I drew last night. So what I was saying last night to members was that if this just continues downwards instead, I'll view this as like ABC, and that'll be done, and then we'll go up from there. Because if you just see continued dumpage downwards, typically what happens is the bears get exhausted, right? If we don't see that bounce up before here, it's unlikely they can get too much further down than just that double bottom area, which is here around 17.6. Now, if we want to get real micro with this, I have this new yellow diagonal drawn here, and I'm going to zoom back here so you can see when I was counting this 5-wave move up, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I was looking for this 5th wave. If you remember, I was looking for that, and I drew that red box right there when I had this diagonal forming, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 within a diagonal. It's an ending diagonal, signifies reversal, right? So we were looking for lower, and we've already gone over the fact that it's gone a little too low now. But what I want to point out is that this action looks like this action. So we may only have 1, 2, 3. We may be getting a 4 right now. You can see it's rejecting from the top of that trend line. So we may get one more micro lower low over the weekend, right around that 19K area, flirting with my invalidation area of 18,950. So don't be shocked by that. But then if that's the case and it holds, I would then expect the move up into that red box area there before further down. So most likely scenario is that we get some sort of bounce here, whether we get a slightly lower low first and then a bounce, or if we break out more directly and get up into that area, or we go up into the orange. At some point here, we really should get a bounce. We really don't have the setup in place as of right now for this to turn into a more bearish immediate dump, but we do have to pay attention to it. If it just continues down, like I said, in this blue scenario, then the bears are probably just going to get exhausted, and so I'm not too worried about that anyway. If I don't get a chance to get out of my spot buys, so be it. I'll just probably hold on. I don't know, I might raise some cash here. If it breaks 18,950, it might be a good idea to raise some cash. That's definitely my leverage stop below 18,950. Spot buys, it's kind of up to you what you want to do with them. I might hold some, or I might sell a decent portion. I'm not exactly sure. The thing that would make me sell a lot would be if we at some point see a 5-wave move down. As this has been progressing downwards, we haven't seen anything more than 3 waves. Like, that's 3 waves right there. And so I haven't really been too worried. That's 3-wave move. So any pullbacks that we get, as long as they remain just 3 waves and then they come up to invalidate an impulse, then we don't have to worry. But if this starts forming a 5-wave impulse down and that breaks 18,950, then I am going to get out of spot buys probably, because that might signify a more bearish outcome, and it just allows me to add back in a little bit lower as well. All right, so yeah, once again, basically very complicated situation here. Unfortunately, it was looking pretty cut and dry, but unless the bulls really start proving themselves again here, I am expecting that we will see either lower or a revisit of the 19K area. Even if we get up a little bit higher, we're probably going to come back down to make a full correction. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. Let's see, I just want to take a peek at the 4-hour. I mean, 4-hour certainly has room to come up on the RSI and the PPO. It doesn't mean it will, but it has the room. Hourly PPO is starting to get into that overbought territory here. Like I said, it could just signify a slightly lower low before going up. RSI is pointing upwards for now, and realistically, normally you don't get a top right around this area. It usually on the hourly chart gets up into these really high areas first before topping. So I still am standing by the fact that we probably are going to get into that mid 20 to 21.5K area before we see the next major dump, probably. But again, everything is kind of convoluted right now, so just got to stay on our toes and see what the micro action continues to do, and just be wary on this next bounce. See if it looks like 3 or if it looks like 5. If it looks like 5, we should be going up more directly. Otherwise, we're going to have more chop and or potentially lower lows, and that could in fact, as I said before, it could in fact break that 17.7 low, and that would then give the bulls actually another chance. As long as we stay above 15.7, even if we make a lower low below 17.7, it could then make a new 5-wave move up that actually looks impulsive versus this crappy action, and then we could ignore that. All right, hopefully that all made sense. I know, it's always frustrating when we have all of these different scenarios here, but I do the best that I can to try to explain them. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll just see which one of those scenarios ends up playing out for us. All right, everybody, have a good weekend. I will talk to you all on